Hello everybody, this is Cabbage and I will today make a video about how to track Uber Advantage, how to play around those, everything there is to know about Uber Advantage. This is a guide for beginning medics, so it is not for people who already know all this stuff. It might be for people who are struggling with applying this, but it is not, it's not some kind of magic wizard guide for Prem medics, it's for more beginning medics. For my own expertise, I play medic since about a year and a bit now. So I've been playing it for a while. I have played it in open, Div 6, open, mid, and now in a high team, but I'm sub now, so I don't really play anymore. Next season I'm looking to go high, so I'm somewhat experienced, so I kinda know what I'm talking about, but not everything is unraveled for me. Not all the not all the secrets of their universe have been opened to me, like, Nox, Merlin, those guys. If you really want the professional tips, you should ask them to mentor you if they want to be bothered with it. But for now, you're gonna have to do it with me. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is how Ubers are built. Basically, building Ubers is very simple. You are a medic, you take out your medigun and you heal people. You left click on people. Generally, that's the key they use. If you use a different key, good for you, but if you heal people, your Uber meter is gonna go up. How does your Uber meter go up faster? It's by healing people who are not fully buffed. Basically, once a soldier hits about 270 HP, your healing rate will halve, which means you will build Uber slowly, which is not good, because you want to build Uber as fast as possible. One of the key parts of this little guide is that you build Uber. I'm assuming you are building Uber as efficiently as you can. If you're not, work on that. That's step one. I see many new medics make the mistake to not build very efficiently. They're just buffing up the target who's already buffed. Just make sure you're always building as efficiently as you can. When do you know Ubers are not being built? Because that's of course important for Uber advantages. It's not being built if either the medic is dead, the medic is alive, but he doesn't have teammates, and in case when the medic is alive and he has teammates, but you see, oh, he's just running around alone or is arrowing at people, he will not be building if he's arrowing a lot. So if you see their medic arrowing a lot, you can assume, oh, he's 20% behind in Uber because I've been healing, I've been building efficiently. So that's one key point about medic, is you can actually get an Uber advantage out of the blue just by building. You can get about 20% advantage easily if their medic is really bad at building and you're just being efficient, and you can catch them out time and time again. If you know this, if you notice, he keeps building badly, you can just be confident in taking the fights. So keep that in mind. If their medic is bad at building and you're good at building and you're doing a good job, you see their medic arrowing a lot, running around alone, you can assume sometimes I have an advantage, even though you have been up for the same time, you should have been healing for the same time. Next on the list, of course, is how do you track your advantages. Now, basically, how to track advantage is very simple. You have to know the name of the medic in their team, and you have to press tab and see if he alive, is he dead, and you need to listen to the calls from your team. I'm assuming you're playing with team comms, so yes, some lobbies might be a bit different, but usually people, the real lobby kings have their binds to say your enemy medic down or enemy medic popped or whatever. So, great for them, and you can track Uber advantage by looking at those binds. But I'm assuming you're playing in a team, maybe you're playing pugs. The footage you see, by the way, is from a pug, so people were communicating, in fact. So you can keep in mind that you're hearing what your team is saying. I'm assuming you're hearing what your team is saying while I'm making this guide. So for lobbies, this might not work very well. Now, first of all, you need to know when the enemy medic was alive in relation to your own. So let's give an example. You're in a mid fight, your medic dies, their medic didn't. What's the Uber advantage like? Obviously, their medic didn't die. You assume he's be building all the time, which he should be, because he has all the time in the world. If you win mid, let's say you wipe on mid, you walk all the way to second, you would have Uber by then if you're a normal medic player. So you can assume, okay, they have advantage because I died and their medic didn't die. And I died means you're the medic, right? If you're looking from medic's perspective, of course. The other thing is know if your medic was building or not in relation to theirs. which basically means if you're the medic and you notice, oh, my team's running around, or you know, you're pocketing your demo die and you're alone and you have to run away, you have to surf a rocket somewhere, you know, all the time you're doing your fancy juking and stuff, their medic has just been healing and been building Uber while you haven't. So by that you can know I have disadvantage. If conversely you're just healing your teammates while their medic makes a sick surf, sick escape, 1 HP, let's go. I mean, it's fine. Their medic will still have disadvantage even though he lived because he wasn't healing. So if you play really fast you can still catch him out without Uber. Now the third thing is know when the enemy medic died in relation to yours, which I'm assuming right now both medic dies, but let's say one medic died because the roamer bombed really early in mid, boom, medic, you know, you arrive at mid, medic died. And the other medic survives really long and at the end he gets flanked by a scout who had been behind for 15 seconds and then he dies. So basically your own medic will be already spawned, will probably already be healing if he had a teammate, and their medic just died, so you can say I have advantage because their medic died super late. If you die earlier than the other medic, you can have advantage. If their medic doesn't die at all, of course, you will have disadvantage. So an important thing to note is when you die as a medic, spur your team on to be really aggressive, especially on their medic, because if you can kill their medic, you can swing instead of having a massive disadvantage and potentially losing the round. You can actually swing it back to in your own favor. You know, maybe you lose mid, but you got their medic, so you can probably defend second with the heals you get, and so on and so on. You know, if you die as a medic, your prime target on the other team is their medic. Conversely, if you kill their medic and you're the medic, you have to tell your team to rally to you or whatever the fuck you like to do in your team. If your team is around you, maybe the other team kills you, but if you are in a position where the enemy team has to jump into a hole, let's say, to kill you, and then your team just has easy cleanup, you know, even if you die, or even if you have a chance to die, you shouldn't be upset about it if you can bait enough players and your team just cleans them all up, and you can even get 2 points. Even though you don't have Uber advantage, you will still get a positive trade out of it. So, quick recap, how to track advantage. If you're alive and the enemy medic is not, you will have advantage. If you die early, you will have advantage. Conversely, if you die late, you will not have advantage. And then lastly, if you see their medic arrowing, not building very well, you can assume, okay, I have advantage, or the medic disconnects for the team, of course. You can say, okay, I have advantage. It's not going to be big, most likely, but it's an advantage. And any advantage is really pushable in most situations, if it's about 15-20% actually. Now, how do you track Uber advantage in practice? Because of course, when you're playing the game, you're really focusing on playing the game. You're not really constantly thinking about Uber this, Uber that. No, you're thinking about, I need to dodge rockets, I need to heal my team, I need to pay attention to the game. But how do you, in practice, keep that in mind, but keep it in the back of your mind automatically without really having to focus on it? Because your attention should be on other things than constantly tracking Uber advantage. It should be automatic after a while. Now, the easiest way for me to pay attention to Uber advantage is every time I spawn, I think, do I have Uber advantage or not? So basically, if I spawn, I press tab, I see their medic is alive, their medic is dead, whatever. You listen to the team comms when you're dead, of course. So you can always know if their medic died, if their medic didn't die, if their medic popped or not, if their medic, you know, spawned and doesn't have teammates, if the medic spawned at the same time as you because you died at the same time as him. You can basically always know these things by just pressing tab, listening to the comms and paying attention to the game. Now, what I do when I spawn is press tab or no, oh, their medic didn't die but their medic popped, okay, I have small disadvantage. Because of course, if you die and their medic pops after you die, and then, you know, your team wipes and your team gets up along with you again, and then you start healing, of course, their Uber advantage will not be a full 100% because they popped, of course. They need 40 seconds to build it in an ideal world, so about 50 seconds probably in realistical terms. You know, 40 is really sharp. You need to heal perfectly all the time to achieve that. Now, in short, you can just press tab a lot when you play medic and just, oh, their medic died and I didn't, and there you go, Uber advantage achieved. I know what is going on. If you just pay attention to the game and you pay attention to when their medic is up, when their medic is not up, you can always tell whether you have an advantage or not. Now, next up is a quick bit about how you should be positioning yourself compared to your Uber advantage or disadvantage. Now this is not a guide specifically for every map, it's always a different situation depending on the map you're running and the class you're running. If you have a sniper, you might do some different stuff even if you have advantage. So in basic terms, if you have advantage, you should be close and ready to catch the enemy medic. So you can be a bit, spotting their medic a bit, or just spamming, being really close, but you should also be not taking hundreds of damage, hundreds of points of damage, because then when the push comes, you won't be buffed, and you want to be buffed before the push. Important to note, especially in lower level teams, flank players tend to die when you're trying to push advantage. So if this is a problem your team is running into, tell your flank, or tell whoever dies a lot, just say, we have advantage, don't run in and die. We're gonna push an advantage, we want to push a 6v6, don't run in and die. Simple call. If your team is listening to you in even the slightest of ways, they should not be running in and dying, because you want, of course, your team to listen to you a little bit, always. Anyways, another thing about dry pushing is, you might have a 20% advantage or 30% advantage, but you don't have your Uber yet. This means you should be close, but you should also be careful, because if they send a bomber in and you don't get a 6 surf, you will die, or your team wasn't ready for it, you will die, and Uber advantage is switched up in the other direction. Many teams, especially teams with stronger DM, like to dry push, so to deny that, you should always be ready to spam out any aggression really hard. As if you have Uber advantage, if Ubers are even, don't let the enemy team get in for free. Now, for Uber disadvantages, the same thing kind of counts, that you don't let them get in for free, but you have to be in a position where you can get out and build, keep building your Uber. Yes, you will probably have to, give away a one capture point if they pushing with Uber advantage. But important thing to note is, did you force their medic or not, or do you need to force their medic or not? If you are only 20% behind, you're holding nice and back, you keep building your Uber, they push, they try not to pop. If they take about 5 seconds, you will have Uber, and then you can contest second easily with an Uber v Uber fight. Conversely, if your advantage is if your disadvantage is very big, you might want to either send in a sacrifice play to make them force, or spam really heavily. Always have the spam on the combo when they're pushing advantage, because you do not want to give points away without having their medic pop. If you're giving the point away for the reason of, oh, they have Uber advantage and we don't have Uber yet, and we're not close to Uber yet, so we have to give this point away if we want a chance at getting the next point defended. Basically, if you don't slow them down at all, they can capture a point and then push their Uber advantage into the next point, which is something you absolutely do not want. You either want to delay them enough for you to get your Uber, or you want to force them and get out and then repush, because if they pop and you don't have Uber yet, their Uber fades, you have full Uber advantage now. Uber advantages are very quick to switch, because if one team pops, then the other team gets the Uber advantage, because the other team, the team that pops, is back at 0%, of course. So one more thing about positioning according to advantage, you can call focus on the pushes you're doing when you have advantage. If it's a small advantage, I would recommend always tell your team to focus their medic. If it's only a 20% advantage, if your team is very fast, they can kill a medic on 90% and then possibly wipe the rest of the team if they didn't have to spend all the Uber and all the ammo to kill a medic. So you want to call that focus. However, if your advantage is very big, or if you're pushing last with a big advantage where the medic is nowhere near an Uber, he needs to get like 2 Uber cells to get Uber, let's say, you can say, okay, then you can say you don't need to focus the medic, focus the frag, focus the point. As a medic, even if you're not main calling, you should always call whether your team should focus the medic or whether it's not necessary to focus the medic on pushes, especially on last pushes, really. Because on last pushes, it's always good on maps like Snake, where you Uber in, they get back into spawn, and if you don't play point, then you get crushed on point a bit later, because they just come out spawn, completely restocked on ammo, whatever, and you're out of ammo and out of Uber. So you want to call a single focus. This is very important in sixes. You can focus all the frags, and then the medic is left alone, and he doesn't have Uber yet, so it doesn't matter at all. If you focus the fragging class, that is. if you focus the point, you want to, you know, have stickies in front of point and get the point, get a scout on it, and get their stickies, get the next guy, whatever the fuck you do. Doesn't really matter what you do, but in the end, if the advantage is close, I would always recommend focusing their medic so he doesn't get Uber up. Otherwise, their medic is not really a big threat. If it's not close to Uber and you're pushing last with an advantage, you shouldn't really bother killing him immediately. Quick segment about pushing advantages. As I said, if it's a small advantage, you can focus the enemy med. But if their med is very far back, let's say you're pushing a second point or a mid point, and their med is very far back on a small advantage, you should try not to pop. If their medic is far back in a position where you cannot catch him, you might as well take the even Uber fight after you get position on mid. Getting position is very important in an even Uber trade, and if you cannot catch their medic with your advantage, you might as well take the position and get a good fight after that. Now, if your advantage is big, you have multiple choices. If their medic is close, again, you should not be afraid to pop your Uber and go for the medic, wipe their team, cap 2 points, and then push loss with another advantage. That's always great. But if they are in a position where they're trying to spam you, as I said earlier, try to spam them, try to force them, whatever, what you do as an attacker is try to not get forced because your advantage is big, so you might as well get the point for free and then maybe even have an advantage to push the next point. Even if that advantage is lost, it's still a win because capping a point and having the Uber advantage stabilizing is not that big a deal, because then you're up a point and you still have even Uber, so you haven't really lost anything. Another thing to note with Uber advantages is that you want to flash your people in as aggressively as possible. If it's an even Uber fight, you want to, you know, single your Uber as much as possible, flash as little as possible. Your pocket should try to make their medic flash, because then you get half a second more Uber, which means you get, you know, in a fast game like TF2, you have time to spare to really do a lot of damage before they can even damage you. Now, if it's a big advantage or even a small advantage, and if you're trying to focus the med, try to flash your players into the things they need to focus. You know, don't just drop your scout because you're trying to not flash your pocket. I mean, not flash from your pocket. And it's useless, because Uber advantage, what you want to do with it is do damage and get kills and, you know, really wreck the enemy team, so the advantage stays in your favor because you kill their medic and you can build up more Uber advantage. So if you're pushing an advantage, you should not be afraid to flash your Uber a lot. And if you're even Ubers, you should be really gentle with the flashing, especially in sixes, because it's a bit dicey sometimes. If you flash a lot and then your Uber is 2 seconds shorter or 1.5 seconds shorter or something, that's that can be really problematic if you're trying to get an even Uber fight to go your way. Now, the last thing I want to go about is how to maximize the building rate, because I was talking about how you could get an Uber advantage, even though there is none, by building more. So the important points how to build Uber is you have to heal the players who are not fully buffed, so they're either hurt or they're either not buffed, whatever. And another mistake I see many new medics make is that they don't press mouse 1 all the time. When I play medic, I have the mouse 1 button on my feet. You know, I smash it so hard. it's ridiculous. And then you watch other medics play and they're just like clicking on someone and they click off of them and then they click on the next guy. That's always like half a second you lose, and in the end, if you're switching targets 40 times, that's 40 times half a second. That's 20 seconds lost of Uber building time. Why do you do this to yourself? An Uber builds in 40 seconds. If you add 20 seconds to it, you are kinda, you know, 50% behind in Uber, which is not very good, obviously. Now, if your team does not build for you, if you only have your pocket to heal or only have one guy to heal and he doesn't damage himself, of course, if it's a demo with a trap, it's a different story. But building Uber in general is a team effort. So if you're not playing medic, still be proactive for your own medic. If you notice, oh, my medic has nobody else to heal, there's no real threat, so I might as well build the Uber. Uber is so important to win the game. You know, how to win the game: 1, cap points, and on the second place I think it's ubercharge. Having good Ubers is really important to win the game. Apart from DM, yeah, maybe Uber is 3rd place. If you have better DM, you might as well win. But anyways, tell people to build as a medic, and as if you're playing something else than medic, have your medic build. If you're the guy who needs to be building your medic, do it. Don't you know, pay attention to it. What wins you the games? It's, you know, getting the Uber up in time so you don't constantly are at an Uber disadvantage because your medic isn't building well. Building Uber is very much a team effort, and I would like to see everybody, you know, take the wishes of their medic into account, and what the medic wants is build Uber as efficiently as possible. So if your medic is doing a good job left clicking on everyone, make sure you hurt yourself, or, you know, take some spam damage, or, you know, shoot yourself a few times as a bucket while he's healing someone else, and then pull out the escape plan so you can build up the rest of the Uber very easily. Not much effort involved. Yeah, your damage padding will be a bit less probably if you're not spamming and instead you're building a bit, but in the end it helps your team more to be at even Ubers than it is to constantly get fucked by Uber disadvantages your medic didn't know about because your medic was building too slow. And this is something I see quite often where, you know, medics think Ubers are even refined, but in fact they have been building so poorly they get overrun with about 15% disadvantage because they're just holding close. Like I told you, even Ubers, you just hold close, you deny any angle. But if you build 15% slower, you're basically at a disadvantage, which means you should be holding back. But if you don't know about this, you get caught out by this, and it happens. So to conclude this video, how to track Ubers, because that's of course the point of this video. 1. Keep an eye on medic spawns and deaths. This means you press tab every time you spawn and you think about it a bit. You know, did their medic die? Did their medic die early? Did their medic die late? Did their medic pop when I died and he had Uber? Did the medic not pop? You know, you can take that all into account, and with some logical deduction you can always assume, you know, they have advantage, they have disadvantage. You can always really know what's it like. 2. Build efficiently. If you don't build efficiently, you will get disadvantages that you don't know about, and those are the ones who catch you out the most. And remember, building Uber is a team effort, so your team should build, and as a medic you should also tell your team to build. And 3, position yourself according to Uber advantage or disadvantage, and you will not get caught out by disadvantages, and you will be able to have successful pushes based on Uber advantages. If you take this into account, I think you will be able to improve your medic play a bit. So that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. This has been Cabbage, and I will see you later. And send this to your friends if they're wondering how do you build Uber or how do you track Ubers. Or if your medic is struggling, just send them to this video. Maybe they learn something from it. Anyways, you guys all take care.